Yes, thank you for coming tonight for the Board of Education candidates meet and greet with the Chamber of Commerce. And our first speaker tonight is going to be Tom Clary.
Graduate degrees, I'm an MBA, and I also have a Master's in Science in Accounting. I've spent my career as a project manager, a controller, and I'm currently a public accountant. I've sat on the board of many nonprofits, from Special Olympics of Maryland to the Washington County Economic Development Corporation to the Agricultural Stewardship Association to, I think I'm now on the board of LEAP now. They called me 2 days ago. So that's all wonderful because I love cash flow, I love financial oversight, and not surprisingly, Washington County requires this skill set, which I'm happy to provide. My passions, however, are economic development and the fight for rural life. And rural life is hard. We see hospitals consolidating, we see schools consolidating, we see all of our infrastructure suffering, and it's important to determine how we're going to land, and we have to land softly. We have to have a better future than what we were provided as children and as adults, and that's going to require a great deal of work and insight and planning. And I hope to provide that to the Board of Education. I was motivated to join the Board of Education because I was concerned about its relationship with the community. I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to give this school a shot. Now we're going to get into some details that are some kind of pain points for me. My first year included the first attempt for a supermajority. If you guys don't know what a supermajority is, it is the attempt to go above the tax cap to raise your taxes by greater than tax cap, and it requires a 60% vote. Or, man, you might know the exact answer. It's like 59.
60%
plus one. 60% plus one. So that came as a bit of a surprise to the community, and there was some resentment, and there was some frustration. There's actually a moment when I thought for sure we would have an angry mob. We were in one of the classrooms in the school. It was packed to the gills, and it was heated, it was sweaty, and it was my first real governance experience. And luckily, it was Mike Mugitz and I both insisted that we opened up the meeting for public comment. We allowed for inclusive governance. At the end of the day, both the attempt for a supermajority and the capital project were voted down. My second year, there is another attempt to go back into that same old capital project, but our attorneys, like the community in the prior year, told us that was inappropriate. So the details of a capital project are the critical documentation are the newsletter and the public referendum that have to be listed on the documentation when you go in to vote. If the items that you want to construct or build aren't included on the newsletter or that public referendum, then it is not within your capacity to complete that work. And so by keeping that project open and by attempting to go back into a prior capital project, it opened us up for risks and extra costs that could have been reduced or not sustained by, or not taken on by our community. I have 1 minute left.
30 seconds.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about really good stuff. So for our supermajority that passed, we reinvested in marketing and communication. We took it out of the budget. In September, we realized that will not get us anywhere, and so we invested in marketing and communication. We brought in Rick Timms. We passed the teacher's contract by the holidays because we were planning for a supermajority. We did admit that we did not have long-term financial planning, which is an issue, but we now have that in place, and both our capital project and supermajority passed.
Thank you, Tom. Do you want to take questions now? Or?
Yeah, I'll take questions.
So could you finish your thought on that supermajority?
So a supermajority is something that we have passed. We passed an 8% supermajority. It came at great expense, but we had the foresight to do it before the county did. Later on, my mother and I both knew that the county was going to pass a significant tax increase. And we both talked to each other and said that we would rather make sure the school went first. It helped to correct our budget gap. We still have a substantial budget gap of $700 and something thousand, which is quite substantial. It has to come from somewhere. Budget gaps don't simply go away. You either reduce your expenses or you increase your revenue. Increasing your revenue is limited to your tax cap, which is maxed out at CPI, the lesser of like 2% or CPI. Is that right? It's close.
Whichever's less.
Yeah, whichever is less. Which is an issue with state law, right? We've had high levels of inflation for the last few years. So we have found ourselves in a large budget gap scenario that we have corrected slightly, but we are still depleting our fund balance, which is due to run out by 2031, which is basically your savings account. But our changes in our budget process are allowing us to see into the future and are keeping our train on the tracks and ensuring that we are no longer spending on unnecessary items or taking any paths that deviate from tight fiscal responsibility or tight fiscal restraints, because we know that we're going to make some decisions in the next few years. And I feel confident in the process. It's still coming together. But at this point, I feel like our financial oversight is in place.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mike, do you have anything interesting, any quips that
What's the, so you have a plan to continue to close the gap?
you can't close the gap
Okay.
unless you cut programming
Or increase taxes?
or increase taxes. But the gap is in when I just think out loud with the gap, you'd have to increase taxes by 30%. That's not possible. I love ideas of talking about an endowment for the building and saying this building is incredibly important to this community, and therefore we want to reach out to our well-endowed community members to help build a portfolio for the building to sustain it. I love that idea, but I don't think taxpayers can actually provide the money necessary to sustain a K through 12. So we have to be creative, and the only way to be creative is to actually know what's coming years in advance. And I think we do know what's coming years in advance. But now we have to talk about it. We have to discuss. We have to be open to ideas. I think Ann's going to talk about writing letters. And yeah, you have to allow the state to go over the tax cap. You have to match inflation, otherwise you'll fall behind. These discussions need to be had if we're going to keep K through 12 the same. But my final point is the only way that we're actually going to get there is if the community is present, trusts us, and wants to support what we do. So everything we do has to be inclusive of the community, transparent, because we know that there is a cliff, a fiscal cliff happening in a not too distant future. Any other awesome questions?
Tom, is the board lobbying people in Albany, because a lot of the added costs are state mandated, unfunded state mandates.
Yeah.
So that no matter what Salem does, if the legislature imposes something and says you must do this, but they don't add funding, then we'll never catch up.
So I support lobbying, but I'll never let mandates take the blame, because we need our house in order first and foremost. And if our house isn't in order and we're blaming the state for these mandates, then I don't feel comfortable with the job that I'm doing. So I accept the fact that we have mandates because I like that my daughter has free insulin. She is only allowed to live in New York State. Because I trust that New York State will provide for our community. However, we must get our house in order, and it has to be perfect first. And on top of that, we can lobby as much as possible, but our house needs to be in order at all times.
Any other questions for Tom? Thank you very much.
That was a 10-minute speech.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And next up is the letter D. Done
Thank you. So I just want to take this opportunity to let people know, if you don't know about me, a little bit about myself. I have been on the board for 7.5 years, and I'd like to take an opportunity to share some of those things that I've learned and why I'd like to be reelected to a seat at the board. I came to Salem in 1976 as a new teacher. No, those dates sometimes scare me too. I did move around to different locations because it was with BOCES, but we settled here in 1983 when I married Peter. We had 2 girls. In fact, one still lives here in the community, came back with her family. And, you know, we were busy with activities with the girls, people's coaching. We were busy with our church and in the community. But when they graduated, I was looking for more things to do, and one of the things that came up in the area of service was I was asked to take a seat as a trustee on the village board. And I found that to be very challenging, but what I enjoyed most about it is that the village board was nonpartisan. It's not by party, and it allowed us to focus on community issues and things that were important to the people who lived here. And I did enjoy that. I eventually became mayor, and I was mayor for 6 years. Excuse me. And about 8 years ago, I was asked if I would be interested in joining the Salem board. And while I was thinking about it, I realized that it would allow me to check a lot of boxes for myself. It would give me an opportunity to serve in the community. I'm passionate about education. I was a teacher for 35 years, special education. And it would allow me to represent the community and advocate for all kids to be, thank you, served fairly and effectively. And again, the school board's nonpartisan, so it allows us, again, to focus on the community needs and put the students' needs in the mission and vision of the school primary for us. And over time that I've been on the board, I've learned an incredible amount about how board governance works, and I've learned about the responsibilities and the limitations of the role. And the school board really does have oversight, but it is not into the day-to-day operations of the school. So we have oversight over policy, budget and finance, and the superintendent. But we only can act if we are in a legally held meeting and there is a quorum. So individual board members, we do not have any additional authority. So we do have to work together in concert to work, to cover those areas of governance that are important. We have to work with the superintendent because the superintendent, when we hire the superintendent, it's the only employee that the board has, and we have oversight over that, and we evaluate the superintendent. But we also delegate all of the authority to manage the school day to that superintendent. But we also, to balance it out, we evaluate the superintendent, and we, based on clearly defined goals and objectives, we measure to make sure, and we take a look at how outcomes for kids and how they measure out. But the board has to build trust with the superintendent in order to have that delegation happen. And I'm getting nervous, I can feel it in my voice. How many minutes? 1 minute?
Yeah, 58 seconds.
Okay, so I'm pleased to be working towards a stable administration because that will give us the things that Tom was talking about. It will give us efficient allocation of resources. It will provide support to the staff. It will be connection to the community. And all of that will lead to success for our school and our students. So I'm seeking to continue with that work, and I would appreciate people supporting me. Thank you very much. Is this the time for questions, or?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody questions?
Oh, you have a question? Oh, no. Ann, you've been on the school board for 7 years, right?
Yes.
What do you see how the world has changed, or how's the public changed, the public's interaction with the school board? How's that changed?
It has changed. I was on the school board before COVID, and it had a whole different feel to how the board interacted with the community and the superintendent. COVID came and our world got turned upside down, and what we did is we had a lot more public participation in our meetings. It was done virtually. And so we were starting to get people interested in the governance of the school. And so as we came out of COVID, that interest has been maintained. And so there are people who are actively, they come to our meetings, they follow what we do, they ask questions. And so I have seen an increased community awareness and interest in the school over time.
That's good.
Yeah.
Questions for Ann? Okay, thank you,
All
Ann.
right, thank you.
Let's see. Marco. Hatzel?
Apple, yeah.
Hatzel, there we go. All right. You want the 3 minute and 2 minute?
No, I timed it.
Oh, okay. Good girl.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Margot Hatzel, and I'm running for the Salem School District Board of Education. I don't come to you guys with an immense amount of experience or history. What I come to you with is I'm a new parent, I'm a relatively new community member, and I am enthusiastic about making Salem a school that we're proud to send our kids to. And I know right now we have a lot of things we are happy about and a lot of things we're unhappy about as a general community. And so what we want to do is be here and be part of the process of making everything sort of transparent, which I'm sorry, I know that's your guys' word. I know, but we all want transparency, so that's where it is. I want to start by saying that I think sometimes gets lost in these conversations, and that is Salem is a good school district. We have dedicated teachers, we have families who show up, and we have kids who are capable of remarkable things. I'm not standing here to tear anything down. I'm sorry, I'm not a great public speaker, so I'm just going to read. I'm standing here because I believe we can do even more for them, and I think we have an obligation to try. When I was growing up, I attended a very small school district, not unlike Salem. And like a lot of small school districts, there were limits to what we could offer under one roof. Limited elective options, limited advanced coursework, and limited exposure to career paths that weren't immediately visible in our town. And for a lot of kids, myself including, that ceiling felt real. But here's what changed things for me. My high school had a relationship with a local college. Students who wanted more could enroll in courses there during the school day that counted towards our graduation requirements. It opened a door I didn't even know existed. I took courses that shaped the direction of my life, and I'd never forgotten what it felt like to have someone say, "We can't offer this here, but we're going to make sure you have access to it somewhere." That's the kind of school board member I want to be. Small districts have real advantages in some ways. We know our kids. We're not lost in bureaucracy. Decisions don't have to take years. But we do have to be honest about our constraints, and we have to be creative and proactive around working them. That means asking, what are our students asking for that we aren't offering? What programs exist at neighboring districts, at community colleges, at regional career and technical centers, at organizations right here in Washington County that our kids could be accessing if we built those bridges? Dual enrollment, internship pipelines, partnership with organizations doing meaningful work in the arts, in agriculture, in skilled trades, and technology. These aren't radical ideas, they're proven models that small districts across New York have used to punch well above their weight. And they don't always require a massive budget. They require a board that's willing to pursue them. I also want to be clear. Diverse programming isn't just about college-bound students. It's about every kid in our school finding something that lights them up, a reason to come to school, a skill they're proud of, a path forward that makes sense for their life. When we expand what we're offering, we're not watering anything down. We're saying that Salem students deserve a full menu of opportunities, not just the ones that fit neatly into a small building and a tight schedule. As a new parent, I have a long stake in this. My child is going to be sitting in Salem classrooms for years to come. I don't have the luxury of short-term thinking, and I think that perspective of someone at the beginning of this journey, not at the end, is something worth having around the table. I'm not running because I have all the answers. I'm running because I'm willing to ask the right questions, do the homework, build the relationships, and advocate hard for every student in this district to have access to every possibility, every opportunity we can possibly give them. Salem is a special place. Our kids deserve to know that and feel it in the education they receive. Thank you. Sorry, really not a public speaker.
Great job. Questions for Margot? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Corinth, Vermont, so we actually went to Hanover High School in Hanover, New Hampshire. So we had access to Dartmouth for classes.
So what topic is scariest and what would be most exciting for you as you choose to work?
What topic is scariest?
Yeah, scariest.
Like, sorry, define. Use it in a sentence.
Without leading you, I would say there's a lot of breadth to the knowledge that has to be acquired in the first 2 years, ranging from like school law, then employment law, and then into providing an education and understanding setting up of a school to financial oversight.
I mean, scary might not be the word I would use. Certainly, like, there is a lot to learn. My background, just so you guys are aware, is I went to college for theatrical stage management. I did that for about a decade, and then I moved into operations management and recruiting, and then the pandemic moved me right into personal training. So I have been around and about. I'm not necessarily scared, but I'm definitely well aware that there is an absolute immense amount of knowledge that you're going to have to give me, that I'm going to have to find from this community and get myself. Yes, thank you. Get myself. And that's something I'm definitely up for doing. I've definitely bopped around, but in doing that bopping around, what I can tell you is that I'm an incredibly adaptable person. I've worked in corporate jobs, I've worked in gyms, I've worked in the back of theaters. I currently do a little bit of all three of those things. I still work for Fort Salem Theater. I am in the process of going back towards corporate work and executive assistant work. And I'm still training locally, teaching a boot camp here, and I'm up for learning, and I'm happy to do so. Now, I do not have the information that an accountant has. I will never have the fiscal knowledge and understanding that you do, but I'm more than happy to ask the questions and learn everything I can.
All right. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you.
All right, now we have Mike Mujitz, and I know we need a timer.
He's been hitting that 3-minute mark, like,
Almost
I've been doing better. Good evening.
This will probably be 3 minutes.
I'm Dr. Mike Mujitz, and I'd like to begin by thanking the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity for the public to learn about the candidates to make an informed choice on May 19th. I'd also like to extend my condolences to the family of Tom Clary, whose mother-in-law passed away Sunday, and I can appreciate Tom taking the time to be with us this evening. On a personal background, my wife Brenda and I have lived in the area for a number of years. Brenda taught kindergarten at Cambridge for 22 years, and I served as the school leader of Schuylerville Elementary School for 20 years. But we've only recently moved to Salem, and we did that to support our 2 grandchildren. One's in 1st grade, one's in 5th, so we have a vested interest in the school, not just as taxpayers, but as grandparents. We both volunteer at the historic Salem Courthouse, the Bancroft Public Library, and we provide tutoring for Spanish-speaking people in the community. I am a member of the Salem Economic Development Council, the Rotary, and the Salem Historic Preservation Committee, so both of us are involved in the community. But after attending school concerts and open houses and school-related activities for 7 years, I decided to become more involved in the future of the school. And this election is not about how long someone's lived here, but how long they can usher us into an uncertain future at the school, financially and in many other aspects, like the advent of artificial intelligence on the community, on the curriculum and the manner in which it's provided. The vision of Salem Central School ends with the statement that students will be future ready. So it's an emphasis on future. I'd like to use a magic trick to present my professional background. And there are 3 reasons I'm going to do that. First, I want you to Did you see how I did that, Laura? Okay, now, ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a video.
See it, Laura?
Yeah, I see
See my sleeves? I wear a long sleeve shirt because people will look at it.
it. Okay.
But it's gone, see? It's just like that. Now, the reason I use magic is because it's very similar to school improvement. It's something that looks daunting and challenging, but if you know what you're doing, it can be something that's performed much easier. Now, I'm going to show you how I did this trick, which I'm not supposed to, but I'm going to show you because the purpose is to reveal that school improvement can be as easy, if you know what you're doing, as this magic trick. The other is that I want our school and its potential and its successes to not be hidden like this handkerchief was in my false thumb. So we don't want the potential and successes to go without the awareness of our community, of which 3/4, the vast majority of people who live in Salem do not have kids attending public school. And by the way, that's a national statistic. Only 1/4 of people have, either they don't have kids or they send them to an alternative setting like private schools, parochial schools, or they homeschool them. I have spoken all across the country on school improvement at conventions and conferences. I've also been hired by the U.S. State Department to provide workshops on school improvement to teachers from the Southern Embassy schools in the Southern Hemisphere. There are 3 areas that I would like to work on, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. Cat is in C for communication. It needs to be ongoing and 2-way, and it's continuous. A for accountability. We need to own our decisions and learn from those decisions. And T for transparency. We have to move away from making decisions and then sharing them to sharing decision making by involving people in the community as active participants. Thank you.
2 seconds to spare, 3 seconds to spare.
I don't have a question, but I have a statement. Okay. First of all, we all thank the budget, the board, and everybody for trying to work so hard to keep the taxes down. That's very important in Salem. For all the candidates, it's just a minor thing to some people, but it's a major thorn in my side. The communication with the community is terrible. And it's not just me. I have sent numerous emails to superintendent, to board members. You never get an answer back. And I'm not the only one that's saying that. There's people out there that are in a busy world that are working. There are people such as I that are retired that have irons and all kinds of organization. If I can find the time to email a concern, I think someone in that school can find the time to just give me 2 minutes and answer my question. And I have sent 8 emails altogether to superintendent, people up to the school, and board members, and I have never once gotten an answer.
Well, I do share your concern. Communication is vital. I asked in August for information from the school, and when I didn't receive it, I sent an email and subsequently was forced to submit a Freedom of Information Act and access that, and it took 3 months, but I got the information. The communication, as I said, is two-way. It's incumbent upon the school board to have their thumb on the pulse of the community. They need to look, listen, and learn. And as I pointed out, the vast majority of residents do not have kids. They may not even go into school. So how can we reach them? We need to market. We also need to have some means of communicating and responding.
Right.
And that's one way to earn the trust of people. And
It's an easy fix.
And if you were able to convince every parent of a child in this school that the school is worthy of their investment, that's still not enough people to pass a budget, much less one that would require a supermajority of 60%. So communication is something that is instrumental in securing the trust and faith of the community. So if I'm on the board, I certainly would push towards a more responsive and sensitive to the needs and interests of the community. You may not agree with me,
Right.
but you will know why I think, or have a particular position on an issue.
At least answer.
Yes. Laura?
I just follow up on that with maybe the current board members. Is there a reason emails don't get answered? Like, is there some type of comment, Andrew, both on the board? Is there something legal or something like that?
No, there's no
Okay.
legal reason to not answer an email.
Okay.
I mean, you may not be able to give the particular answer because there might be some, it might be confidential or whatever, but it would never stop you from answering an email. Jerry, I've never received an email, so I'm sorry that you feel that you haven't been
They've been
heard.
sent.
Pardon me?
They have.
But I'm just saying that I personally
After
haven't.
one board meeting, I sent 3 to 3 different board members.
Did you send one to
And
me?
not one person replied.
What year was
Not one.
What year was that?
I didn't send you.
When I
I
have,
personal message you.
when
And I have to say, Tom always answers me.
Yeah, I
When I
respond to
have-
everything I
Yes.
receive.
when I have submitted emails to the board, I do not
And
receive
it-
responses
some of
from
them
board
are
members.
minor concerns. I mean, one email was about handicap parking. I have a question about handicap parking. You can't take the time to answer me?
I would take the time if I.
I'm not talking about you, but I sent it to the school 3 times about handicap parking and never got a reply. It's just that- So, are my emails going through? Are they not going through? Why is nobody answering me?
I don't.
And the one
can't
board
answer.
meeting I did send, I sent an email to you, I sent an email to Jen, and I sent an email to John Hicklin. And no one replied to me. No one.
To be fair,
And like he said, we don't have to agree, just answer my question, that's all.
to be fair, I found that my emails sometimes do not go through to the, and it's because of the computer's detect system and because I'm using Hotmail, which is ancient. And so I found, and so if I send it to somebody else, or I use a Gmail, all of a sudden it went through. So it could, it could possibly be that. I'm just,
My emails have gone to every board member, but I only receive a reply from the board president. So it's confusing in that, I think it was Mark Twain that said if everyone agrees with the decision, then it's a bit redundant. And if everyone agrees and it's that information response is siphoned through the board president, then I'm not aware of what the other board members feel on the subject. So that is a concern that I share with you, that it goes out to all board members, but I only get a response from the board president.
We have to remember that a good number of our emails that we receive are highly sensitive and have major legal, financial, people ramifications. And so yes, I do respond to every email I receive. It won't say anything but other than thank you for being involved and thank you so much, unless I think I can. or I'll address it with you personally. But we have to remember that, yes, we do receive emails that have very high stakes. And, but I would cherish the opportunity to make the process easier for the community to understand. If you send it this way, you will get a response.
Yeah, just thank you for your concern.
Yeah, no,
That's all I need.
I respond to everything I receive.
And it's not just,
I agree.
it's not just emails. It's when the school has solicited information from the community, as they did in April of 2023, and then subsequently in November of 2024. These were all anonymous responses where the school district asked for comments from the community on the school, on anything. And the first year, there were 140 respondents. The next time they did that, 18 months later, there were 80 respondents. When I attended the meeting and spoke to the superintendent who was hired as a consultant for the district, he said, I wonder why we went from 140 down to 80 responses. And I said, because we still haven't seen the responses, haven't been shared from the first April of 2023. So if you contribute your comments, suggestions, advice, or ask questions, and you don't gain any response from the board, then why would you do it again when they ask? Similarly, this was in the thought process as part of developing the blueprint for excellence for the district. So that's the kind of communication that I'm talking about, that I don't believe the board members have even seen the results of those surveys, but it is important because if you are generating policy, if you are the person that someone sees in Stewart's when you're getting a cup of coffee and they ask you, you should be informed. You should be aware of the concerns of constituents and the people who elected you.
Thank you.
Mike, were you talking about the thought exchange?
Yes.
Those were shared within the process of the thought exchange and in creating the mission vision and then the refresh. So the information that was collected for a purpose, and it was used for that particular purpose.
But it was shared with the people who were involved in the committee to
That's
develop
right.
that, not all the people who contributed.
Because it was anonymous, and it was used for a particular purpose.
Right.
And that's the information that we asked for, and we used it for the purpose that we said we were going to use it for. So it was not, nobody was trying to hide anything or not communicate or not be transparent, but we asked people for their thoughts. We told them how we were going to use those thoughts, and that's exactly what we did.
But
We didn't use them in another way.
And the people who were not part of that group that formulated that, who contributed their comments.
And their comments had value, and they had value to that group.
I have a question about what you're talking about. Is that something that was handed out to everybody in the community? Because I don't remember that
It was
questionnaire being a thing.
online survey,
No.
and you could contribute. It was anonymous. You could contribute your comments. There was no limit on it. And
How was it announced?
Chrissy,
Do
you
you
could
know?
respond to other people's comments. You could rank them.
How was it delivered, though? Was it a
It was
Facebook thing?
all,
or-
it was on, over the internet. The fellow who did the whole process for us provided the platform for us to use. And people put thoughts out, and then you could take a look at those thoughts. You could rank those thoughts. So it helped to give some priorities for everybody. So it wasn't individual comments so much as it was the collective, as how they use the information to prioritize.
Yeah, none of that concerns me. The thing that concerns me is how was it delivered? Like, I don't remember hearing about it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I had four kids in school at that time. I don't remember hearing about, do you want to know I'll answer it right now. Give it to me, I have some comments.
I foiled this.
I know, but I don't
3 months.
remember getting any kind of notification about that. Was it a parent square? Was it just particular people that were chosen?
No, it was open to anybody who wanted.
Okay, I just don't remember hearing about it. So again, the communication somehow, like, yes, I need you to hit me with a hammer and, staple it to my forehead because my kids keep me pretty busy, but
I didn't know anything about that, and there was 2 of them.
Did it go out to everyone or just parents?
No, not to everybody.
I think it was on Facebook and there was a link to it.
What
There
year
a
was
link
this?
there. I remember going into the link.
April 2023
Yeah, I'm not
and
on
November
Facebook as much
2024.
as-
Yeah, that's
Should
it.
be, I
Like,
guess.
not everybody's on Facebook.
It's awful, but
Yeah.
there is a lot of information there.
I know, but I don't live and die by it, so
Ooh,
I'm an old fan of the old pen and paper and mail it to me, I guess, I
I guess
don't, or whatever.
what I was wondering, why the results weren't shared through the school.
That was not the way it was presented, how that information was going to be used. We used the information in the way that we said we were going to use it to create the priority list to help form the mission, vision, and the goals and objectives that would follow from that.
But as a taxpayer resident, I was interested in what other people may have thought.
You could have seen it on the thought exchange when it was finished, as you were reading it, as you were going through. It was all available on the thought exchange in the process.
Well, it sounds like there's definitely communication,
Yeah.
you know, that things could be improved and maybe just,
There always is.
yeah, absolutely. I used to see it on the town bar all the time. It was,
Some things that we've done well. The website has been updated. I mean, we have so many layers and avenues to communicate that it's often really confusing which one is being used and which one you need to go to. And particularly with high priority stuff like a community survey or the Rick Timms long-term planning document, we really need to make sure that we have a single splash or homepage to go to for all this critical information. And we're working on it. It's getting better, but I don't think there's a uniform policy for that. And I don't think people know that critical information lives here. You know,
Sorry, I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I'm obviously, like, I'm not on the board. But is there a reason it's not going out to, in every capacity, right? Like, we have a huge group of people in Salem that are multi-generational, so are we not mailing, emailing, Facebook, and kind of hitting that across the board so we have I'm a 34-year-old mother. I'm gonna check Facebook. I am gonna check the mailbox, although there's a spider in my mailbox right now, so that's actually less in for me, like very big. But just across the board, are we not just saying, okay, every piece of information should go out in these 3 ways that will hit kind of everyone in the community, especially because we don't all have the same internet in Salem. Like that kind of gets a little funky.
That conciseness of your statement was nice. You know, these 3 ways we find to be highly impactful. We haven't had that conversation. That's a good conversation.
I mean, you can vote for me. You don't have to.
But no, we find that these 3 ways of communication touch all demographics and people to the best of our ability. Yeah, no, that's a conversation we should be having. I support that fully.
Can I move us on to another question
Yes.
about the budget? And everybody's talked about, you've got it, and Mike, you particularly talked about how to, we can't support it with the parents who have kids in school, but how do we market the town and how do we get fundraised basically for the school, right? And you kind of talked about it kind of, Tom, but other than bringing in more students, which means more properties available for sale for families, what are the options to sustaining it and increasing your fundraising, because you can only affect so much, right? Because the budget, a lot of it is contracts
And we're
and
2/3 state funded,
negotiations. Okay,
right? Is that right? 2/3 state funded.
so how do you help close that gap if you can't raise the taxes, and how are you gonna, or get more people in town when there's no properties for sale? We're kind of between the rock and a hard
So the
place.
basic thing that we should understand is if you have a $750,000 budget gap this year, your budget gap will be at least $750,000 next year. It doesn't magically go away. And that's why the analysis of your fund balance is so important. And your fund balance is a combination of different cash balances that are simply accounting and not actual cash, right? Your cash is your current cash balance less your current liabilities. And so it's really important that we have the knowledge to understand where we are. And like this year we're dipping into I think it's the TRS. It's either ERS or TRS, where it's had a very large cash balance of nearly $900,000 since 2019. and it wasn't fully understood that we could use it. So having the knowledge and insight to know where cash is hiding, because fund accounting is very complicated and we have to know where it is. So that's part of it. Second part of it is we should expect that revenues are not going to increase. And the only way to increase them would be to severely burden our community well beyond what is probably possible. And we also should believe that we have cut enough. Can I finish? We have cut enough. I think everyone I talked to in the school has said we have cut enough. And we need to establish a benchmark of what our expectation is for our education. We can't show up in the spring and say, oh, what are we cutting this year? This is our benchmark, this is our standard, and it's not moving. But for revenue, we have to be creative. We have to look for options. We have to pursue knowledge. We have to gain insights. We have to do everything we possibly can to close that gap. Everything possible.
Are the funds sitting in a high money market account, or are they getting a good return on those funds, like a
Yes.
ICS account or something?
Yes, they are.
They were in your class,
To your
which
point, how are we going to continue to provide services and programs to our students? This is the state education department and our local area are talking about regionalization, and we're talking about how we can share, and we're trying to look at removing duplication of services, sharing services. So we're trying to use the resources that are coming to us in the most efficient and effective way that we can. Looking through BOCES, talking to our neighbor schools, how the distance learning, how AI can help some of those kids that are stepping out to college courses or the trades courses and give them the opportunities that they need. So not only, yes, Tom's correct, our revenue is not going to increase, significantly, but we can use those resources to the very, very best advantage that we can by looking to our neighbors and talking on a regional scale. And I'm not talking about merger, I'm not talking about us losing our identity or anything like that, but to use, if we offer a program that somebody doesn't, that we can take a student in or can work the other way. So there are so many different ways that people are starting to think about how we can use the combined resources that we have in our area to provide appropriate and effective and good programming for our students.
I just wanted to add one quick thing, and then I actually do want to hear your response, Mike. But just a quick, I echo what both Tom and Ann have said, but a quick pat on the back for the work we have done this year and for the administration is that there is a level of contingency built into any budget, right? We have to, we don't know, we build our budget. I mean, this year we built our budget and the state budget hadn't even passed, right? So there's a lot of, still hasn't passed. And so, but my point is we put the budget together and it hadn't passed. But anyway, so there's still a lot of unknown about state funding. Obviously a lot of priorities and things are shifting and changing and the mandates and then this and then that. So, we build in a decent contingency into that to make sure that if we have students come in, if we have high need students come in, that we can accommodate them without it being all of a sudden a burden, right? So this past year, some of it was just circumstantial, but some of it was just really good planning and really great in the moment decision making, that we were able to have some of that contingency money hopefully remaining at the end of the school year, if things go as planned. So there is a little bit of an opportunity there, and like Ann said, if we continue to make the choices that can, allow that contingency to build a little bit, that can be put back into the fund balance. So as Ann said, looking at ways that we can not necessarily decrease opportunities for our students or our faculty, but look elsewhere, look in our community for that help. So I just wanted to pat us on the back for the work we have done this year.
And two of the suggestions that I submitted in the thought process, that online survey, one, they both involve marketing. One is inviting area realtors in for a tour of the school. Now, with the internet, prospective families who have children coming here, they can look and compare all of the schools. There are all sorts of websites that do that. But we have a beautiful school. And I know there are 2 houses within a 1/10 of a mile of my house that are for sale. And if we brought area realtors in, and had a member of the Student Council or Honor Society and a staff member give them a tour, they can see that. And then they leave with a brochure highlighting the positives of our school. The other one is the fastest growing non-public school educational provider are homeschools. We are not, that I'm aware of, conducting any exit interviews. That is, Laura, why did you choose homeschooling? And I'd respect whatever you said. And some of the things we can't accommodate. It may be that someone's going to a private school because of a religious interest that they have. But without asking people why they're withdrawing their children, how are we going to respond and address that issue? I think the school has amazing achievements and unlimited potential, but we have to market it. We have to attract people. We have to try to bring back Salem residents who are being homeschooled back into the school. You have to look at each one of those individuals as, I think, in excess of $11,000 in state aid. Now, let me explain, perceptions can become reality. I don't agree with what I'm going to share with you right now, but it does show that we need to improve our marketing. The community survey conducted by the Town of Salem Comprehensive Plan has 10% of people rated school as poor and 26% rated as fair. As I said, I don't agree with that, but I respect their perceptions. And what are we doing to reach those people, to sell our school, to, as I said, to not have the handkerchief hidden behind a false thumb? So there are things that I think that we can do and should be doing to try to combat any enrollment decline and be an attractive destination for education and not continue to lose learners to private, parochial, or homeschooling.
So just to kind of, I mean, that is like a huge part of what I was talking about. Where I grew up, you chose the school you went to. So my hometown was so small that you had the choice of about 4 or 5 different high schools. And so at that point, I already had a specific interest, so I was able to look at which school had the best funding and the most accessibility to that specific interest and choose based on that. So I went to Hanover High School because they had all of the sort of like secondary generational technical equipment for their theater because they inherited from Dartmouth, and then Dartmouth was there and you were able to take classes with them. So that kind of thing was readily available information, and I was able to make a decision because of that information. There was like Thetford High School, which didn't have as much in the arts, and that was why I chose where I chose. But at 13 years old, that information was accessible to me and my parents. And that was why I was able to make that decision of like, okay, I do want to go to this school. I want to participate with this community and see what they're doing.
And as someone who served as a principal and a superintendent, principal for 37 years, and a superintendent for 5, all in public schooling, I'm actually an advocate for alternatives. Because I think that public schools over the years have become complacent, thinking that everyone who's 5 years old will now walk into our school. And the better opportunities that people have to choose from, it becomes incumbent upon us to make sure we're marketing, we are conscious of the competition, because public schools are in a much more competitive marketplace than they have been in a long time. And so we need to be the school of choice.
I met a woman last night at the auditions for Fort Salem who is moving to Manchester, Vermont because she prefers that school district.
From where?
From here. Yeah, we are from us.
Has she decided she's...
Yeah, I mean, and again, this was like a very brief interaction, but this is definitely happening within the community.
I mean, I have 3 little girls. I have 2 in 5th grade, 1 in 1st grade. And as a board member, it is scary knowing that there is a financial cliff. And we have a $750,000 budget gap that's only going to increase. We need to have a plan. We need the community to be confident in that a plan will come together and we will appreciate what it is, and we will see why it's valuable and it can be attractive to families to come here. In that plan, it's probably going to look completely different than what has ever been seen before in Salem. It'll probably include a robust courthouse, right? It's going to have to include a robust courthouse. They better get some work done down there, right?
Don't put the pressure on.
No, but it will.
Jeez.
I mean, we went down a path and hired a community engagement person to develop this concept of community schools, but we couldn't afford that person. However, the concept should remain. This is a community school, and the community needs to stand up for it and help to provide some of the lift, which to me is beautiful. Engaging the community, involving these nonprofits, relying on others to help provide the lift. Just Bobby, I think you're involved more in the school just because he needs to be. All these volunteers, they need to be involved in the school. That's our future. Otherwise, it could be very different.
We were faced with a budget cut in Schuylerville. And at a faculty meeting, brought in a guillotine. Put a cupcake under the guillotine. Put my arm in the guillotine. The blade came down, went right through, split the cupcake in half. Then we talked about how you survive budget cuts.
You got a prop for every issue.
Actually, magic's pretty good for your resume.
I thought Brenda was a magician.
I know Brenda's a saint for it. We will be married 51 years on May 25th, so.
Well, maybe to wrap it up, I just want to, on a high note, I just want to share that I love Salem. I love Salem School. So my husband went to school here, and all of his brothers and sisters, they've gone on to fabulous lives. Our sons went here, fabulous lives, you know. Our grandkids are going here, and each generation it's been, my God, what's going on in the world? What's going to change? But every time we get through it, and they've all done great. So no matter what comes down the road, I really believe that Salem's going to be fine. And we're all going to be great because everybody works so hard and we all love it so much. So maybe you could each just share a few thoughts on what's so fabulous for you about Salem. Anne, you want to start? You're on my right.
One of the things that I have always stood in amazement of is the closeness of the community and the school community. I went to a much larger school, a large regional school. It didn't have that same kind of feel. And the whole community and the school itself, they come together to help people. They're always looking, you know, to build you up rather than just kind of let you go. So I do think, I know my girls had great experiences at school and have gone on and, you know, they're doing super well. So I just think that it's part of the climate of the school and the community that is amazing.
I mean, again, I've been here about 5 years, and all I say is like an incredibly welcoming community. I've recently, I had a baby not so long ago, and spent quite a few months just walking around town obsessively because I wasn't allowed to lift anything. And I met so many people came out, said hi to me, and like talked about what they were doing here, and it's just been like so very welcoming, and something I didn't initially get the chance to experience because when we first moved here, I was working so much I didn't get to see the town. And so having slowed down and really like spent time here, it is incredibly welcoming and incredibly considerate the way people take care of each other here.
I'm going to echo in part what Ann said. I worked in a city district where there were 55 schools, 31,000 kids, and no one could even name all of the schools, much less feel like part of a community. And the idea that the school is pre-K through 12 in one building, where there's that like intergenerational interaction, where I pick up my grandkids after school every day, and on good days we go to the playground, and one of the high school girls went by and said, "Hey, Laszlo," to my grandson. I said, how do you know her? "Oh, she comes to our class one period a day and helps out." Now, I'll also tell you that they all take the same bus and they learn some interesting things on the bus. But it's that feeling of the togetherness. The idea that everyone is going to take that 14-year trek now, pre-K, K, and all the way through, in that building. And it's that bonding between the people inside it and the building itself. When I was in high school, you know, the junior high was someplace else and there were multiple elementary schools. I grew up in Schenectady. You didn't have that same feeling. Not this Saturday, but the Saturday before, I was playing soccer with Ann's grandson, who I met, Henry. And you know the people. And Tom's twins call me Poppy, because that's what my grandkids. And so it's that feeling of community. And there is so much that's good going on in our school. We just need to push it out there. Not just to the 3/4 of people who don't have kids in the school, but to people who might be thinking of moving in.
Yeah. Tom?
I'm not going to say community. I'm going to say I think we have some really good teachers. And I think that my girls' experiences in Salem through elementary school has been absolutely wonderful. There's folks that have been in this school for a very long time, and they've done a great job. We have one of the best. Probably have the best math program in the Capital District. We have a lot of other really good programs. I think that we are very competitive in how we take care of our teachers, and I think they provide a phenomenal experience for our kiddos. And I hope that we can continue to take care of our teachers and provide a phenomenal education. I would like a phenomenal education to continue in Salem.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Yep, you're welcome.